What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris Lebron. And I have a special guest with me today, Julian Martinez, host of the Slumpbuster? Is
that the Slumpbuster?
Slumpbuster. Oh, okay.
Come on, we're here to bust the slump, man.
That's why my writing was bad. But what's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. I'm happy to be on your pod. I think it's always awesome whenever people, specifically independent podcasters, can get together, put out a fire product like we're hoping to do on this show. And yeah, let's just get into it. Let's talk some hoops.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to talk to you, man. So first of all, what made you want to start a podcast?
Well, the thing about it, I was thinking about what I want to do. I'm 25, still in my mid-20s and everything. And I always loved sports growing up. It was just my outlet, my thing that got me talkative, got me out there. Because you walk up to any random person in the street, right? And you could probably talk sports to them for hours, right?
Yeah,
that's one of the great things about sports that I definitely enjoy, definitely like. And I just kind of saw, it's kind of a sad, morbid story, but some friends around me, they passed and they were in their 20s. And I thought to myself, stuff like this could happen to anyone, and might as well go out there, take a chance, do something you want to do, be happy. I mean, look, we're just coming off last week, we saw the horrible tragedy that happened with Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, man, still can't get over it.
Exactly. It just gives you perspective on, take advantage of every day.
Yes.
Go out there, passion project, whatever it is. If you like talking about sports, well, hey, there's never been a better time in the media world to try and break into the industry.
Yeah.
Set up your own podcast, surround yourself with creative people, and hey, produce the best product you can.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm the same boat too. I was always hesitant to start up, a podcast. I wasn't sure. I was always worried. Man, what if it doesn't work out? And then I always go back and forth on it, and it just got to the point. You know what? Just do it. Just do it. You love talking about sports and stuff, so just do it. And I just did it, and then I've stuck with it because sometimes you get hesitant, I had a few shows in the beginning that did good, and then I had a little down period where I wasn't getting the views. And I was like, I'm just gonna stop this, man. This is maybe I just don't have it, And then I just said, you know what? Let's just keep working on it. Let me see what I'm doing wrong, if I'm doing anything wrong, and just kept going at it. And it's so far it's going good. But yeah, do what you want. Do what makes you happy, and that's all it's about.
Entirely. Yeah, I mean, definitely get what you're saying on the audience building part. That is definitely tough. But hey, I mean, reaching out, expanding, and broadening your horizons, that's how you build an audience. So that's why we're here. And
yeah,
hopefully people enjoy it.
Yeah, network. I think the networking part, something I didn't think I would be able to do because I haven't really been that type of person, but just the networking part. We've talked a few times of trying to get together and do a podcast, and we're here now doing it, and just the whole trying to find good guests to talk to, and that people that share the love of sports, and meeting people from you living in Texas. I live in New York. I've talked to some people from Washington and from Carolina and Oregon and all over the country, and I think that's just awesome. That we have this platform to do this, and just the podcast community. I looked at the Facebook, and I just happened one day to just see if there was a Facebook group, and I found this. I'm sure you found the same one that we're in, and look where we are now. It's pretty cool.
I mean, hey, in terms of networking, social media has just been big game changer. Like to find people with similar interests, find people that like to have a conversation, form a dialogue on certain topics. And hey, we managed to focus that, bring that into, well, specifically here today, the NBA.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So before we get into that, so your podcast, you do with one other person or two other people?
Yeah, so we actually do a couple different things with the Slumpbuster, right? So we have our main podcast, which is just going to be with myself and my co-host Dre. So the Slumpbuster with Juju and Dre.
Okay,
And
cool.
like during football season, our buddy Eris, he actually does the Slumpbuster Fantasy Football podcast.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so we got those two shows. We also do a third show as well. It's called Get Your Popcorn, where
Yes.
basically,
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I already love the thumbnail.
yeah. So what we do with that one is we break down sports movies. So for example, like, hey, we're talking basketball right now, right? So we'd be talking like stuff like Air Bud or Like Mike or Semi-Pro, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then like finally the last like segment of it, so like our producer, like C Money, he actually does reaction videos for us too. So like revolving around sports related things. So like Gridiron Heights or Game of Zones, which I'm excited about. That's like one of my favorite shows on YouTube.
Yeah, that's on Bleacher Report, right? Yeah, yeah.
At Bleacher Report, they do an amazing job. Like not just if you're like a Game of Thrones fan, but
no, but yes, the whole concept is just awesome. I like
yeah.
the story, the little story, like the storylines that we always hear, the rumors, and they'll try to bring it to life. It's funny.
It's crazy that the NBA is so like there's so much like drama behind the scenes that you can literally craft this like lore, this backstory to where it's like this big historical epic, like a Game of Zones episode.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's always drama in the NBA.
Oh yeah, like some of my favorite things that they did their first like episode of this new season, and with some of the free agency moves, most specifically like Kyrie and KD going to Brooklyn, LeBron obviously his first little go around here with the Lakers, everything like that. Like they've done like it's just amazing. Like if you haven't watched Game of Zones, and you're a basketball fan, do yourself a favor. Click on that series. It's amazing.
It's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. Even if you don't like Game of Thrones, like you said, you'll still enjoy like all the things they do in that show. It's hysterical. But so it's that I like the concept. I like that you do the three different types of shows. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're even too like working with another like podcast as well. These guys that we have at Face Off, let me just make sure to get their name right. Still working with them, and obviously want to represent them well on this podcast. But they do some amazing work. Face Off Hockey Podcast.
Okay.
They've been producing some of the NHL content too for our website as well. Because like I'll admit, like growing up in the desert, I suck at hockey. It is just not something. If there's like a centimeter of snow on the ground in Albuquerque, New Mexico, then just everyone stay home. Just don't even go on the road. Just wear your heaviest coat, which I'm sure as a person living out there in the Northeast,
oh my gosh,
that just blows your mind. Trudging just meters of snow each and every time it's winter.
Yeah, it's rough. The winters here are rough.
Yeah, but that's just like some of the other stuff like we've been doing. So we're trying to branch out as much as we can, build up like specifically the slumpbuster.com as well. It's like we're also trying to like reach out to like young writers who are interested in like just getting their content out there, because we know it's all about really exposure.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. But yeah, that's awesome what you guys doing. I'm looking at your website right now, and I really like the setup. It's really cool. It's really cool. You guys are doing a good job.
Got a nice, sexy logo too, So.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I was about to say. That was the first thing that I was going to ask you about. That logo that's a pretty cool logo.
Yeah.
That's good. It's creative though. It's creative. I love it.
Yeah. Just having a little fun with, I don't know if you are familiar with the term slumpbuster. If you're not, I'm not going to explain it on this show.
Yeah, I think I got it. Yeah.
Google Mark Grace Slumpbuster, you'll get the concept.
That's cool. So you're from New Mexico, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So how, and you live in Texas. So how did you become a Celtics fan?
Well, the thing about that is like in New Mexico, we have exactly zero professional sports teams. We have
Yes.
minor league baseball. We have horrible college athletics. Like in terms of college football, UNM, NMSU, proud NMSU alumni, mind you, they're lucky to combine for 3 wins together in an average college football season. Basketball, it's funny. College basketball, like they're always competing. They're usually always winning the WAC. They're usually always winning the Mountain West, or at least competing in the Mountain West, both those teams. But every time we get to the NCAA tournament, first round knockout. So it's like
Yeah.
you don't really develop like super big allegiances to it. Again, even though I'm an alumni of one of those universities, it's just like I don't like live and die with their sports programs.
Okay.
Now, in terms of picking the Celtics, it was just like, okay, so I'm kind of a bit of free agent. My dad, my mom, they're not like big NBA fans themselves. So I'm in mid school. I used to always pick up like the ESPN, the magazine,
Mhm.
and like one of the big photos I remember from my youth was like they were just coming off that like that year prior to getting the big three, where they were literally the worst team in the NBA.
Yeah, they were bad. They were a bad team, and
Exactly.
they were supposed to get like the number 1 pick that year, and they wound up getting maybe like the 4th or 5th pick that year. So everything
Mhm.
went wrong that year.
Exactly. So like I was like, oh, okay, let me pick with this underdog team. So it's like if they do get good, it's not like people think I'm bandwagging. And then they get really good because they pick up KD and Ray Allen that same offseason. And
Yeah,
then they
that's
win the
true.
title. And then I'm like, okay, I'm doing pretty good here. Like not bad. I got to see my NBA team win. And then I just ended up sticking with them because again, I'm against the bandwagon concept. I stick with my teams.
Yep.
So throughout the Rondo years, as we got Brad Stevens, seeing IT and his peak with us, I just kind of been riding with this team, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from them right now.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing tremendous right now. They're better than expected, especially after the whole Kyrie stuff. So that's what I'm going to jump right into next is the whole Kyrie, the whole Kyrie drama, and it seems like no matter where Kyrie goes, it's drama. But how how did you feel about his exit from Boston? Because I'm sure he had the big I'm going to re-sign. I'm here forever,
Mm-hmm.
and then like his mood, like I think they had the famous where he's walking down. It's like I can't wait to get can't wait to get to stop talking to you guys with the media, and he just. And then, obviously, with you had IT when you had IT there, you got to a conference championship, and then, I mean, you got with Kyrie hurt, you got to the conference finals
Yeah.
and almost beat the Cavaliers. You took them to a game 7 with a rookie Jason Tatum and a second year Jaylen Brown, and then Kyrie comes back and you guys get, I believe, bounced in the second round. So,
Mm-hmm.
what was your whole take on the whole Kyrie saga and the 2 years he was in Boston?
I was so pro Kyrie during his entire time there. Whenever there was a negative headline that came out, that was a Kyrie's leaving. I'm like, guys, I feel like you're building up a false narrative. Let's chill out a bit. I mean, they just went on, for example, in his first year, they went on that huge win streak to start off the season before he got injured.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, things are going to fit with this team. And then I feel like why last year's team underperformed was a variety of things. So on the court, Kyrie's just a bit of a ball stopper. We all know this.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest weaknesses of his game. He doesn't redistribute as much. He's more of a scorer, which nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But when you get to like face Milwaukee in the playoffs like they did, I mean, he had that one pop-off game. They got them to win. And then he just turned into Russell Westbrook the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Now in terms of like the off the court stuff, it's just like I don't know what to read from about this guy. He's a bit of an enigma. Like,
Yeah, he is.
yeah, I don't. He's a total head case. Like, and when you look at what's going on in Brooklyn right now, how that team's underperforming in spite of kind of a similar nucleus to what the Celtics had the year prior. A young core team.
Yeah, it's very similar. Up and coming team that surprised people, and it's kind of similar with how Kyrie was in Boston.
Yeah, so it's just like Is this guy legitimately a winner? Is he going to be like the guy that could bring someone over the top? I know everyone's just going to look back at that game winner he had against Golden State, but even players who are not necessarily championship caliber, every now and then they'll have a spark moment. I mean, David Tyree's catching the Super Bowl is still going to get played for years to come, but David Tyree was nothing more than cut after a year or two in New York.
I don't. He didn't make the team next year. He wasn't on the team next year.
Exactly. I mean,
he dropped everything in that. I still remember, being a Giants fan. He dropped everything in practices before that. So yeah.
I just feel like if Kyrie's your number one, like your ceiling's just always going to be capped. Yeah. And that's why it is a difference maker, of course, him having KD the following year. But I mean, if you're KD just sitting on the bench tweeting your heart out, then I couldn't imagine you're necessarily thrilled with what you're seeing from the Nets currently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know Kyrie, he's always wanted more of the love, because, he hit the shot to win the championship for Cleveland, and it was always, well, LeBron. And, it's LeBron James, and he's the star, but Kyrie hit the shot to win. LeBron's block was important, and it was a big play, but Kyrie's shot was the dagger. And I just think he never felt the love, and that's why he wanted out in Cleveland. And he had this feeling that, I could do it without LeBron. I don't need LeBron James, until he realized that this isn't, and with the, not having success in Boston, this isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I thought just me being the guy that I could lead a team to a championship, and obviously that wasn't the case. He didn't, and it wasn't because of the talent of the team, because there was a lot of talent. And obviously he apologized to LeBron, and all that, but I think he hurt his stock a little, like for me, I was a big Kyrie fan, but that kind of rubbed me the wrong way with how he left Boston, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. And then just how I understand he's a different type, he's a different cat, and he's a different type of person, but just some of the things he says in the media, especially over here in New York, the New York media is crazy over here. But some of the things he said in the media, you're like, why say that? Even if it's true, that should be behind closed doors. And he's different. He's definitely a different cat. But it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic between him and Kevin when Kevin's back and healthy, for sure.
Yeah, me and my co-host, like a few weeks ago when he just put that word vomit on Instagram, we dissected that. It's just like, it was basically a long rant, if you recall, just like, people don't care about you unless you're like playing on the court. And it's like, it's not that people don't care about you. It's just people care about you because you are an outstanding, phenomenal athlete, and they want to see you play.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a diminishment of you as a person that people enjoy you as a talented athlete. Yeah. And that's just one of my biggest frustration with Kyrie. It's just like, I don't mind Kyrie the poet, but I love Kyrie the player. Show me more of that.
Yeah, because he's arguably the best point guard in the league. That's for sure. Because he has his handles is second to none. I mean, he might have the best handles of all time, let alone the best handles in the league now. And his shot making ability, his ability for a small player to get to the hole is, I mean, he's so creative once he gets inside the paint. It's just remarkable for a guy who's not a super freak athlete to be able to get to the hole the way he does and be so creative with his layup package, and all that. He's one of the most talented point guards we've ever seen. And sometimes he'll get in these holes where he makes people forget about his talent on the court and focus on his stuff off the court. And he needs to focus. We want to see what he does on the court. That's the Kyrie we want to see. Enough with the craziness of the off the court and these crazy, calling out teammates and stuff. We want to see Kyrie ball out. That's what we want to see.
Okay, well, there's two things I want to ask you. First off, do you think he was legitimately thinking the Earth was flat? Is that like a thing, or do you think that was a troll move? I thought it was a troll move.
I don't know, Kyrie. I hope it was a troll move. I think it was. I think he was trolling. I think he ran with it because it kind of snowballed and became a thing. Which is crazy that it even became a thing, but it became a thing. So I think he just ran with it, just had fun with it, I think. But who knows with him? He might actually think that the Earth is flat. And going Kyrie, he might think it, but I'm gonna guess he was trolling on that.
And the second thing on that is, okay, obviously we talked about it, you're a Knicks fan. Would you have been satisfied if he went to you guys? Because you would assume he would have only went to you guys if KD was also coming, so you would have had that to look forward to. But let's just say you had the same situation. You have Kyrie there doing the same thing. Do you think he would have worked better or worse with the Knicks as opposed to what he's doing?
It would be way worse. It would be a disaster right now if it was just if we had gotten KD and Kyrie and it was just Kyrie right now playing. The Nets, at least the Nets right now, they're still the seventh seed right now. Mm-hmm. If this was the Knicks with the talent we have, we wouldn't. They probably have the same record as the Knicks have right now, maybe a couple games better, just because the Knicks talent is definitely not as good as the Nets talent. So, and I think the way, even though Brooklyn and New York were, they're both in New York City, how the media treats the Knicks is way different than how they treat the Nets. It's kind of big brother, little brother over here. The Knicks are still in the talk of the media, and we have one of the worst records in the league, As with Brooklyn, they don't get, the media, they're not going to talk about them as much until Kevin comes. That's when I think the media will kind of ramp it up a little bit more on them. Right now, that unless Kyrie says something crazy, that's pretty much when they really talk about the Nets. There's no. I'm not trying to. I don't want Nets to go crazy, but but it's the truth. The Knicks just did. Brooklyn just really pretty much got here. They're still new. So, but, like Kyrie, if Kyrie were on the Knicks, the media would obliterate him even worse if he were on the Knicks. It would be 10 times worse than it was. That's I say that's one of the main reasons why he went to Brooklyn, because of that. Because if he went to the Knicks, the media would have killed him. With Brooklyn, he can get away with doing his thing and being under the radar because they don't, the media's focused on everything the Knicks do, So that's why I think that was a major influence with Kevin and Kyrie, is I think it's still be in New York, still be in New York City, but not have to deal with all the craziness that comes with being a New York Knick, with dealing with James, here, all the questions about James Dolan and can you finally win a championship? We haven't won a championship since 1973. Playing at the Garden, playing in the heart of Times Square in New York City. So I think all those things they just wanted to play basketball and not have to deal with the media as much. Now when Kevin comes, they're going to have to deal with that a lot more, and the media will be a lot harsher on them. But I think that was a major factor in why Kyrie and Kevin went to Brooklyn instead of going to the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, definitely when it comes to media scrutiny, those two have ran a few track meets themselves. Quick question. What do you think of the whole, because this came out this week, that KD still has burners?
Yeah, I watched that he was on the podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. I saw that, and it is what it is. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that a guy like that would need a burner. Like, who cares? Like, just go at him with your regular account. But I don't know. There's just that's KD too. He's also one of those different type of cats in the league, But
Yeah.
burner accounts. I mean, he called. At least he admitted that he has one, and that he caught himself, because I think he replied to himself, to his own account. I think it was something like, right. He replied to his real account.
You're talking about the original thing that got him caught with it?
Yeah, the original thing that got him caught with the burner.
Oh, I remember what it was, right? So he was like tweeting at some fan, going back and forth, and he tweeted from his main account something
thinking it was his burner account, right? If
something correct, that was in line. And I understand that because I'm switching between like our podcast Twitter account and our
I do
Twitter
the same
accounts.
thing too.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit, that was on mine. Fuck.
Yeah, but we're not in the NBA, and there's a big difference, I don't know how he messed that up, because obviously he has millions of fans that follow him and stuff. I don't know how he messed that up, but
true. I mean, this is the one with the egg. Oh shit, I probably not.
Yeah, I mean, there's one that was an egg. There's one with I think a profile of him and a check mark, and says you have just millions of followers. The other one probably has a couple hundred, if that, and an egg, and you follow one person. I don't know how he mixed that up, but he did. But at least he admitted it, and that was cool, because a lot of people like, oh no, that wasn't me, blah blah blah. How guys get dismissive and just don't want to acknowledge it, and he admitted it at least, and he said, I'm going to keep doing it. So I'm like, all right, cool. That's what we want. We want athletes to be real, and he was being real. So I was like, okay, all right. Now we know. Now we just got to find out which burner account it is. I think I think it's pretty obvious. I think it would be obvious to tell which one is his.
Probably. Are either of those two guys going to be in the league not in the league, but on Brooklyn's roster in 3 years? Do you think one of them might pull out? I feel like they would.
Oh man, that's tough. I think everything. I think everything comes with Kevin's injury. I think it all depends on how he comes back from the injury. That was a devastating injury. Tearing your Achilles is massive. So I think KD is not someone who's obviously he's not going to be a lifer for any team, but I think he likes change. And I think he wanted to try the going back east and trying the East Coast, but I also worry about Kyrie's health too, his long-term health, because I know he's still young, but he's been around feels like he's been around forever already, and he's had a lot of injuries, and he's had injuries this year. I think the biggest thing is their health. Seeing how their health, if they can last 3 years, but at least they're in the East where it's not as tough. From top to bottom, but 3 in 3 years, who knows? Who knows? I really don't know, but we'll see about that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm looking at the standings right now. It's like, damn, like my Celtics would have to win a few more games because I want them to set up that Kyrie Boston round 1. I think that would be fun.
Oh, that'd be the 2-7 matchup, right?
If they can pass Toronto, who's hot right now.
Yeah, Toronto. Who's your most surprising team? Because honestly, Toronto might be it. Because I didn't have Toronto in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think back to like our past episodes in which we talked about our predictions, and I want to say I still had them as a playoff team. But I was definitely like thinking of them more as like a 6 seed, a 5 seed, something along those lines, because I knew Spicy P was going to come up and like be a little bit more of a baller this year. Maybe I'm a little biased because he's also an MSU Aggie, so guns up. But yeah, no. I mean, I definitely do think that Toronto being at this caliber this late in the season is by far something I didn't expect. But also, if you're trying to think about like surprisingly in a bad way, definitely the Sixers.
I had them representing the East. So for me, they're a major disappointment so far.
Oh, yeah, no. Joel Embiid has like 1 foot out the door now. It's like, what?
Yeah, and then just Ben Simmons. I mean, he's a tremendous player. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that he can't shoot a jump shot still bothers me. It's obviously there's guys in the league that know how to get to the hole and that's their game, but they have a respectable jump shot. Giannis has developed a respectable jump shot. People talked about that with Zion, and he's has a respectable jump shot. Respectable enough to where the whole paint is not going to be just all 5 guys, and we're just going to let you eat, just give you the whole perimeter, and that's what they do with Ben Simmons. Like, we want you to shoot. He doesn't. The last 3 I think he took was against the Knicks, because I remember watching that game, and he shot a 3-pointer, and it was like it was like as if they won the world championship because they celebrated it. But what do you think that is? Do you think that's more, he just doesn't want to shoot? Is that a mental thing? What do you think about the whole Ben Simmons not wanting to shoot at all?
Well, I mean, I think we've moved past the point in like guessing that he's shooting with the wrong hand. I think we've moved past that as a media.
Yeah, no,
but I think overall, I think he just knows he's bad at it. Like, oh man, like if it comes down to catching, I have brick hands. That's one of my biggest flaws in playing sports. In terms of this, maybe he just knows for sure. Like he shot enough times in practice to know I do not trust myself in a game situation to do this. And that's terrible considering the position he plays.
Yes.
Considering that I look at him more as a 7-foot Rondo than anything.
Wow, that's actually a really good comparison. He really is a 7-foot Rondo, but at least Rondo has in the last few years has tried to have a respectable jump shot. He's attempted. I've seen him take jump shots in games more than once.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, especially in playoff situations, a team's going to put him in a spot where he has to shoot it from deep. I mean, I actually just thinking back to the history of like the Celtics playing the Sixers, Brad Stevens, every time they play, has built up the perfect game plan for Ben Simmons. Remember that 0-point game he put up a couple years back?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you just cannot continue to win without even making an incremental adjustment or improvement in that specific category. I'm not saying shooting is going to be the be-all, end-all, but I think you should at least have a baseline skill set in that department.
Yeah, at least a little jump shot, a baby jumper, something. A baseline jumper. He has nothing. I've other than like the modern day centers, and I'm not even going to add those like Shaq and those type of players. Dwight Howard. They're obviously they're centers and they're supposed to be in the paint. But I've never seen a guy, who can move the weight. It's not like he's not athletic. He's a super freak athlete. He has great. He's a super freak, and yet he just doesn't even want to shoot a jump shot. It's there too. And we've seen him in his work. People. I remember in the offseason seeing him shooting jump shots. I'm like, okay. If he can even, like Giannis somehow got better, and he's coming up an MVP season and he improved his jump shot to where it's like, you can't stop this man. Giannis is maybe the most unstoppable player in the league, because he has a respectable jump shot now. Just imagine if Ben Simmons has a respectable jump shot, he could be a Giannis type, make Giannis type impact and be an MVP type player. He's already an all-star level player, but he could take that game to the next level the way Giannis is, I just don't understand why, he's not doing that, because because he has so much more, room to grow to be a better player. And yet he manage it because it's there. They're saying, take it. We take the jump shot,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And then that puts it on Elton Brand and the Sixers to come up with a roster that capitulates to his skill set. And right now, this isn't the move. What they have with Embiid, Horford, all these guys, I mean, in the sum of their parts isn't necessarily equating to wins, which is unfortunate considering they do have talent on this team.
A lot of talent.
Yeah, you just look at the decisions to let go of JJ Redick, to let Butler
That hurt
walk,
the
and
most.
it's just like those two moves are just hanging over their head at this point in the year. And not to mention, of course, that Jimmy is jumping in the DMs of Joel during this time.
Yeah, I think eventually. I mean, if they're one and done, if they get bounced in the first round this year, I see one of them getting moved because I don't know if this will work. I don't know if this is going to work. I could definitely see one of these guys getting traded. Now I don't know who the Celtics would trade. Who would you think they would most likely want to give up?
Wait, the Celtics or the Sixers?
No, the Sixers.
The Sixers. Oh, okay. I guess in this situation, you probably want to move on from. To me, I'd probably move on from Simmons. I know that's a tough thing, but between the two guys, I definitely think trying to find someone that matches what Joel can do is going to be a lot harder.
Mhm.
But I understand the opposite case. Like Joel, he's an injury risk, and it's
Yeah.
only going to get worse as time goes. Whereas you figure, well, Ben hasn't really missed much time aside from what you consider his red shirt season.
Yeah, that's first year. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that from a health perspective, Ben is going to at least be on the court for you, which is good.
Yeah.
And he's certainly going to be a playmaker when he's on there. I just don't, unless he makes some sort of adjustment or shows some sort of improvement in the, categories he's lacking in, I just don't know what the case is for making a full-on investment in him.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a tough if it comes down to that and they have to, because like we said with Embiid, he missed his first 2.5 years. I mean he missed the first full 2 seasons. He was out both those years, and then his third year he only played in less than half the games. So essentially, it wasn't until his fourth year where it was his first full year of playing basketball. And I think especially when you have a big man like that, they break down quicker than most guys. So I think that's another thing that they're going to have to look at is long term. Ben Simmons, yes, he missed his first year, but he's been relatively healthy since. He hasn't had any major injuries. Where Embiid's missed a lot of times with even the years the couple years he's played a full season, he's missed games. So I think that's something that they're going to look at also is long term. Who's going to last longer? Even though Ben has his limitations, he might play for 10+ years. Where Joel, you don't know. He could start breaking down now. We don't know. I think that's a big decision Elton Brand and the front office of Philly is going to have to decide, especially like I said, if they get bounced in the first round, there's going to be major changes. Brett Brown will lose his job for sure, and I think Elton Brand's going to think long and hard. Does this nucleus fit? Is this going to work? And that it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting off season if things don't go their way and they don't get to where they should. Because, like I said, I had them going to the finals. I think most people had them at least getting to the conference finals. Being a 55+ win team, and that doesn't look like the case right now.
I mean, they're a great matchup for the Bucks. They match up extremely well against the Bucks, knowing what Giannis's skill set is. That's why I said when they played on Christmas Day, I'm like, I changed my pick. I was leaning Bucks, and I thought, they have the size to manage containing Giannis a little bit, and it showed in that game. But the question is, can they get to that game? Can they get to the Eastern Conference Finals?
That's going to be the thing.
Because right now they're looking at, so if the season ended today, they would play the Heat, and they would be the 5 seed, so they'd have to play on the road, and they're the worst road team in the league.
Yeah, they wouldn't win that series, especially against Jimmy. You don't think Jimmy you don't think Jimmy wants to get at him for not re-signing him and picking Tobias over him?
Oh yeah, Jimmy's a dog, man. I love Jimmy buckets. Like in terms of like the NBA, so like I'm loyal. I'm true to my fan base, my team, and everything like that. So I don't typically pick a lot of like favorite players on other opposing teams on any sport. But I love Jimmy Butler. I don't know what it is about him. Just like his mentality is something that I want to emulate. How he just like takes the janitors and says, okay, Cat, okay, Wiggins, let's get on the court. And he beats their ass in practice.
Yeah, well, obviously it didn't work for them because they're another disaster of a team.
Oh yeah, dude. So Russell, getting traded this past week. Timberwolves, man,
Yeah. So
they're not going anywhere. So I don't get why they made.
yeah. What do you think about Karl Anthony Towns? You think that's enough? I think this offseason is going to be so fascinating because I think there's a lot of big names like Bradley Beal and Booker and Karl Anthony Towns and maybe like a Dame Lillard. Got big names that could possibly, Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons, guys who could possibly get dealt. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so do you think any of these big guys could possibly get dealt this offseason?
I said it just on this week's show. I don't think Karl Anthony Towns is going to be on the Timberwolves roster by next year. I'm putting that out there.
Yeah,
Maybe that's a hot take. Maybe that's a warm take.
I agree.
I don't see how they keep him. I mean, they got Russell to make him happy. I heard someone else on another podcast say that maybe they'll bring like Booker in as to get those trio because they're all friends together. But being friends doesn't necessarily equate to win.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I sorry, I feel bad for you as a Knicks fan because they're going to really sell you guys on another fake Karl Anthony Towns jersey in this offseason. Man, those fake jersey salesmen, they really make their money with the Knicks.
Yeah, man. My heart's been broken enough with the Knicks.
Yeah, you still see the Knicks LeBron jerseys just floating around in
man. See some I've seen Kevin Durant jerseys.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like that's a rough existence in free agency. But back to the main point. It's like Karl Anthony Towns, he's not going to be a Timberwolf next year.
No, I don't think so either.
Booker, he's not going to be a Sun next year either. They probably will link up. They'd probably be a good little pairing, but I don't think that either of those two guys, to be honest, has really the heart of a champion.
Yeah, I agree too. And there's something about, Karl Anthony Towns is extremely talented. He's one of the most talented big men in the league, but I don't know if we got that dog in him, like Jimmy Butler and certain guys just don't have that dog. And I think the same thing with like Booker, talented player, but just doesn't have he doesn't have that ability to make his teammates better. And then I think that's the biggest thing. You look at Luka Doncic and the way he elevates his team, and there's just certain players that just elevate their team. And those guys, as super talented, but obviously they're not elevating their team. And that's on you guys too. I think everyone wants to blame the supporting cast, and yes, but the Timberwolves have had have had good players. So let's not just disrespect to who's been on the team. They've had good players. They had Tom Thibodeau as their coach. I couldn't believe that that didn't work. You had Tom Thibodeau, Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns. You have all these guys and nothing.
Yeah.
So some of these guys just don't have what it takes to be a winner. They don't have that winning mentality. Something like I said, Luka, he just knows how to lift up a franchise, and he's just a winner. And he's going to have continued success because he just has that winning, element to him. He just knows how to bring a team together. And some of these guys, they can, Bradley Beal, another guy, tremendous, he didn't make I think he should have been an all-star because he's just averaging close to 29 or whatever. But another guy, just, you're a tremendous player, but you're not making your teammates better. So some of these guys just don't have the dog in them. I look at Luka, I love Luka, so that's why I keep saying Luka. He's just tremendous.
I want to go up. I want to make that road trip 3 hours north to go see him. So full disclosure, I'm based out of Austin. So Dallas is a 3-hour trip. I would love to go see that guy play.
Do it. Yeah, he's so much fun to watch. I just, he's going to be maybe the face of this league soon because he just, man, and he doesn't have the greatest supporting cast. So, and Porzingis has been in and out in the lineup. But what he does on the court is it's special for a guy who's not a super athletic person to be able to to control the game the way he can. It's just the system is perfect for him. Everything Rick Carlisle just knows how to coach. He's a tremendous coach too. So it was great that he went there and not, I don't know if he would have the same success if he had, went to Atlanta with Trae Young, another guy super talented too. And, obviously they have one of the worst records in the league. But Luka is just he's unworldly, man. He's special.
Yeah, I mean, some players, like you said, just they can elevate a team, or they just don't have that like thing to put their team the next step. I mean, I look at a Memphis team. John Morant has been phenomenal this year. I anticipated the Memphis Grizzlies were going to be another lottery or back in the lottery, but here they are sitting at the 8th seed, just clinging on. Hell, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I thought that franchise was dead after what Damian Lillard did to them in last year's playoffs.
Yeah. I didn't have them even. I thought Chris Paul would get traded by the break. I didn't have them even being close to the playoffs. So, Memphis too. The Memphis is 27-26. I mean, I thought they would be where Minnesota is right now. I thought they would be. They would flip. If people had said before the season that Memphis would be a game above 500, or you people be like, no way, that's Memphis, and they're playing tremendous basketball.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at that bottom of the West right now. I'm trying to think if Memphis can hold on. You still have Dame and the Trailblazers still there on the fringe. Popovich, I don't know if he can really elevate this Spurs team.
The Spurs team's not good enough to. I think it's between Memphis and Portland for that last spot. I think.
I think the Pelicans are too far behind, even with Zion giving them a little boost. By the way, since we're talking about it this week, like seeing the alley-oops between Zoe and Zion this week have been everything I wanted this season.
Oh, I was gonna go right into Zion, so let's get right into it. What was your take on Zion's first game back?
Oh, I mean, phenomenal. I mean, in fact, better than I thought he was going to be, because his shooter stroke. I mean, we talked about Ben Simmons earlier, who
he took advantage.
5 years can't even shoot a shot. Zion is just draining threes from deep on the Spurs, and granted, they were playing him off because they didn't really think that he was going to be able to do it. But
he took advantage. If Ben Simmons was in the same position, he would have found a way to drive into 5 guys or dish it out. Zion was like, hey, I know I'm not a great three-point shooter, but if you're going to give me all this space, literally the whole perimeter, I'm going to shoot it. And, he made all 4 of his threes.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, the guy, he definitely has – again, we talked about that dog. The fact that there was even that report that he said, I wouldn't mind going back to Duke. Granted, NBA media's mind would have just exploded at that concept. Someone wants to play again in college? No, it's like the guy just loves playing. And that's what I love about Zion. He just has that enthusiasm about the game. And I know money's going to shift everything once he gets that first big contract.
Oh my! This man's gonna get paid.
Exactly. If he doesn't balloon up first, I mean that's the big thing with Zion. We always talk about. But I mean, if he gets with Greek Freak's trainer, I think he'll be fine, right?
Yeah, I'm not as worried as most people with the weight thing, because I think he's so dedicated to being great that he knows that, okay, I need to slim down a little bit. I could be this weight in high school and college, but in the pros, I know I got to slim down. So I'm not as worried about. I think he's gonna get the weight down and stuff. But Zion just has that it factor. I mean, when he had the shoe incident where he hurt his knee and his foot exploded through the shoe. And people were like, "Oh, he doesn't need to play no more. He needs to stop playing." And he's like, "No, I'm playing basketball." He's like, "I could have done that at practice. That it happened. And his mindset was like, "No, I'm playing." Like people are like, "Oh no, don't play. Just worry about getting to the pros. You're gonna make all this money, blah blah blah." And he's like, "No, I want to win a national championship. It's a dream of mine. I came here to win a championship. Even if I'm here for a year, I want to win a championship." Simple, and just that mentality that I loved. And I was obviously, Duke didn't win a champion, and I was upset that they lost. But the fact that he's just a dog, and like we talked about before, Luka, this man has it. He has, because since he's come back, they have played way better basketball. And if he had not missed 3 months of the season, I think the Pelicans, we're talking about them as a playoff team.
I completely agree. And hell, they're still using like minute restrictions on him.
Yeah,
If they just let him like go, and this team could probably even have picked up a couple more W's during this stretch.
yeah. That first game, if he played the whole game, his first game, they win that game. And you could see in his face, like, come on, I want to play, finish this out, because, I know I could lead this team to a victory. They would have won that game. But, his place since he's came back, and you see little by little that his hops are getting higher and higher and higher. And it's like, oh, he's getting to that. He's getting to that, his full strength. And I think that's scary. That's very scary for the rest of the league, because he has the potential to be the next LeBron James, as far as taking the league and being the face of the league for a decade plus, the way LeBron's been the guy for a decade plus. He's just star power, He's a megastar already. He's been a megastar for what, so he had 1 million followers in high school as a junior, it's a senior, he's had that. He's been in the public life for so long, and now, he's averaging what, 20-7 right now.
Yeah,
and he's on a minute restriction. Playing what, 25 minutes right now. He's probably went up a little bit, 25, 26 minutes. He has that potential to be a generational talent, like LeBron James. He has, no player has been covered like him since LeBron James. So he has all the tools in the world to be, and he has a good supporting cast too. Mm-hmm. And that's the other good thing. He has good play. Lonzo Ball, to be able to the alley-oops, Brandon Ingram. I don't know if they'll re-sign him, but if they do, that's another core piece. Drew Holiday, the vet. They got Jackson Hayes, good vet, another good vet, and JJ Redick and Josh Hart. They have a good nucleus to be a contending team possibly.
Yeah, that deal that the Pelicans and the Lakers worked out, like the Pelicans, I know it hasn't worked out into wins so far this season, but I think that the pieces they shipped off to New Orleans are really going to help Zion's play over the next couple years. It'd be nice if they could keep pieces like JJ Redick, that savvy vet, to kind of like raise him up a little bit too. Yeah. They could just talk about Duke all day.
Yeah, a lot of Dookies on the team.
Yeah, what I was saying too, like on like our pod was like, and people are like, New Orleans, they've never been good. They've never like had anything. This is just going to turn like the Anthony Davis situation. There's nothing really to say that New Orleans isn't a basketball town, aside from the fact they haven't had a winning basketball team there. Yeah. So when I'm thinking about the city of New Orleans and I'm thinking about Drew Brees on his way out, Zion could be that face of that city for the next decade.
Yeah. They have to keep him. They can't lose it. They've lost some, they've lost Chris Paul. They've lost, Anthony Davis. They can't lose this guy. They can't lose him. They have to keep him. They have to make sure they put the right pieces around him to make him succeed, because he is special. And I'm sure he's helped, the city, just money-wise generate so much money, because I'm sure ticket sales went through the roof when they knew they had the number one pick, on the draft lottery. Another sad day in Knicks history. I was devastated, but ticket sales went through the roof, and like I said, this guy is a superstar. He's a megastar. He's just you saw the minute they knew he was going to play, they put that game on prime time. That game was put right on ESPN. It wasn't even a schedule, but they said, "Oh, Zion, ESPN, bam, we need that game on prime time." They added another 8? I forgot how many more games they added on prime time for him, because he's that big of a star, and he has the potential to be the biggest star since LeBron James. And all I pray for is that he stays healthy, and the training staff puts him, gets his weight down, and he just stays healthy, because we've seen too many stars like Derrick Rose, Tracy McGrady, these special guys. Careers get cut short. At the NBA, we don't save Zion, NBA gods. Please protect him, because he's great for the league. He's great for the league, and he's going to be a megastar.
Grant your blessings upon him, ye
Yes.
NBA gods.
Yes, please.
Protect these knees. We showed him. Knees. They showed him how to re-walk, so he should be fine, right?
I know. That was weird. Like, we're gonna teach him how to walk. I'm like, what is he, a baby? Gonna teach him how to re-walk? That's insane.
One of my co-hosts was making fun of the fact that Patrick Mahomes doesn't know how to jog. And I just told him, it's like, dude, like if not knowing how to jog is Patrick Mahomes' worst quality, I think he's doing okay in life.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is doing all right for himself. He's doing all right for himself, except for the Bears. The Bears are still sick to their stomach. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah. Ryan Day, they are regretting that for life right now. And hell, even not just Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson also in that draft. Either of those two guys.
I'm a big football, so we could talk a little football. I'm a big football fan, and when that draft happened, I watched a lot of Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. Just for some reason, I watched a lot of their. I like their high out tempo offense. So, and I watched the game versus Baker in Oklahoma. And this man was just slinging it. I'm like, oh my God, he's good. He's special. And then you see the draft process, and you just see like they pick and prod and like, oh no, this guy, Patrick Mahomes, his footwork stinks. I'm like, okay, but he was in a Texas Tech offense. He was in an air raid offense, a spread offense, where they're just slinging it. I was like, this guy has it. I don't know what He doesn't have much talent around him. They play in the Big 12. They have no defense on this team. And I'm like, this guy's special. He's good. And then Deshaun Watson, too. And I'm like, he wins. He just wins. He's just a big game player. Oh, he turns the ball over too much. And I'm like, oh, God. And then the fact that the Bears not just drafted Mitchell Trubisky, they traded up one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Take Mitchell Trubisky, a one-year starter, over Deshaun Watson, who just won the national. Right, he just won the national championship, I believe.
Yeah,
right. They beat Alabama the year before. Mm-hmm. The year before, he gave Alabama everything they got, and he was on a mission to get back to the national championship and beat Alabama, and he did that. He had big games. And I'm just like, they took. I can't believe they're not gonna take Deshaun. At first I had Deshaun as my number one, and Patrick number two, and the fact that they didn't take him, I couldn't believe it. They traded up to get Mitchell, and then look at now. How sick do you think they are right now? The fact that Patrick Mahomes is like we talked about Zion stuff, a generational talent. Like he can go down as the greatest to have ever played the quarterback position. Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. Another guy who could be, one of the greats to ever play. And they have Mitchell, who right now I'm sure they're like, oh my God, like I don't know what they're gonna do. He can't be entrenched as the de facto QB1. It just can't be.
Yeah, I'm still hurting because Patrick Mahomes beat my Niners in the Super Bowl.
I'm sorry about that.
I'm still in a state of grief right now. If you are the Bears, at least if it makes you feel better, my Niners didn't really do much with that draft pick. They just selected Solomon Thomas, and Reuben Foster was off the roster in a year.
Thomas, rough. That was rough.
Yeah, but as far as going back to Patrick Mahomes, so I think I watched that Baker Mayfield Patrick Mahomes game after the draft process because I didn't really know much about him. I didn't understand more or less what the decision was to trade up for him. But you're right. After you watch that game, you're like, damn, this guy had 800 yards in this game. Are you kidding me? That's like Madden numbers. That's just the most ridiculous stat line I had ever read when looking at the scoreboard. But no, he's so good. He does everything well, and he's way better than every other quarterback in the league. Yeah. And I know Lamar just won the MVP, but he's on a different plane than Lamar. He's a quarterback.
Yeah. He's way better than Lamar Jackson. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Lamar just put up the stats, and Lamar deserved him. And Patrick did get hurt. He missed games. too. So that hurt Patrick winning another MVP. But there's no debate that Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback and the best quarterback in the league. And he's with Andy Reid. That's another great thing, is that he went to the perfect team.
Yeah, which, you look at the Bears situation, it's a shame for them because obviously now they have Matt Nagy, who did come from the Andy Reid coaching tree. They have that fantastic defense, or at least we still think is one of the top 5 defenses in the league. So if you just added a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, I mean, the Chiefs, for as good as they are obviously Super Bowl champions. Their defense is more middle of the pack. So if you
put like middle of the pack might be me saying it too nicely. They're not great.
I mean, I saw Chris Jones definitely flash and knock down enough Jimmy G balls to know that.
Yeah, no, Chris Jones is good though, and he wasn't even 100% too. But Chris Jones is a really good player.
Exactly. So I mean, they're more middle of the pack. You add a elite Bears defense with a Patrick Mahomes level talent on the other side of the ball. Who's stopping that team? Are they legitimately losing? And people have made the case too. I've heard this one talked about. What if you put Patrick Mahomes on the Niners team? It was just like, wow, is that like a 19-0 team right there?
They would have won like 45-0 if Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback and not Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's phenomenal. It's hard to watch knowing that he is. I mean, let me ask. So I posed this question to my co-host. 3.5 Super Bowls. Where are you on Patrick Mahomes? Like for his career resume in 20 years, how many Super Bowls does Patrick Mahomes have?
It's easy to say that it'll be more. It's always easy to say, but I'm sure they said the same thing with Dan Marino. He got the Super Bowl in his second year and never got back.
But he has the one already.
He has the one already.
And he's won MVP the year before.
He's already an MVP his first full year. I mean, he's 3 years in the league, and he's an MVP, and he's a champion, Super Bowl MVP and champion already. I mean, I guess I would go over. I just think he's just so – I mean, he doesn't have to worry about Tom Brady, because Tom Brady is eventually either going to retire or, Tom Brady's not the same Tom Brady anymore. So he doesn't – that's one less guy to worry about. And I don't know if he fears Deshaun, and Lamar and those guys. I don't think, I wouldn't fear them if, he showed that down 24 against the Texans that, I could come back and, it doesn't matter what deficit we are, I come back. So that I go the over. Yeah. I think he can go down as the greatest of all time. I think Tom's the greatest of all time, but, at this pace, Mahomes is, and they still got their guys intact, offensive weapons, Kelsey and Hill, and they might need to get another running back, but they still got Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. They got to be the favorites to get back in the AFC at least.
Yeah, there's not a definitive challenger in the AFC next year. There's not even one definitively for the next few years. So, like, the Chiefs could go on a Patriot-style run in that conference. And unless Trevor Lawrence gets drafted by one of those teams in the AFC, it could continue indefinitely. We thought Andrew Luck was going to be the counterbalance there, similar to have a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady type rivalry. But I don't know if that, because I don't know longevity wise on Lamar. I don't know him taking that next step. I'm still not completely sold, which I know is going to sound crazy to a lot of people. And being a Lamar hater is dangerous territory to be on in the sports media world, but I haven't seen it, maybe because I've lived this story before. Again, as a Niners fan, seeing the Colin Kaepernick tale.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I'd be disappointed if he doesn't win more than 3.5.
Yeah. I mean, he so far, he's off to a good start. So since you're a 49ers fan.
Yes.
I want to talk about your quarterback quick. Before I get into the last few topics. What's your thoughts on Jimmy G? And do you think he is the future of your team?
Yes, absolutely yes. This narrative that's been thrown out there that the Niners should cut bait on Jimmy G just because of a poor Super Bowl performance is absolutely ridiculous. because prior to the Jimmy G trade, little history synopsis, people, they were 1-10. They won on a 5-game run with him. Then you go into the 2018 season. They were 1-1. Then he tears his ACL, and they are picking number 2 in the draft. The next year, when he's back healthy, they're in the Super Bowl. Yeah. I know you can't always just read too much into the win-loss statistics, but it's hard to argue the correlation between him in the lineup and him not in the lineup, because people are like, oh, you could just use Nick Mullins. Well, Nick Mullins was on the team that went 4-12 the previous year.
Yeah, it didn't work out well for Nick Mullins last year.
Yeah, and I liked Nick Mullins. I thought he was fun to watch, better than C.J. Beathard, which if you're debating between your backup quarterback and your third-string quarterback, that's a sad place to be as an NFL fan.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I definitely think that Jimmy G, in his first full season as a starter, is everything I needed him to be. He was 7 minutes away from winning a Super Bowl. And if you are going to replace him, you have to tell me that the person you're bringing in is better than him.
Exactly.
Because it made sense in Minnesota when they replaced Case Keenum for Kirk Cousins, because they thought Kirk Cousins was a far superior quarterback. But yes. I've heard the narrative, Kyle Shanahan in a couple of years can get Kirk Cousins. Like, after watching that Minnesota game, do I think Kirk Cousins is better than Jimmy Garoppolo?
Oh, no. No, definitely not.
In fact, there's only like maybe 7 or 8 quarterbacks that I might legitimately rank over Jimmy at this time. And that list goes pretty much something like this: Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz, maybe Aaron Rodgers. He might be kind of on the back burner.
Aaron hasn't looked good lately.
He hasn't looked good lately.
He didn't look like Aaron. I think because we held him to such a high standard, Aaron Rodgers, that he had. You look at his stats, and it's like any other quarterback would love the stats. But if we're holding Aaron to that high pedestal, which he's a tremendous quarterback. He didn't play up to his level at all this year.
Exactly. Russell Wilson's on there. Matt Ryan, a former MVP. But then we start getting into that territory where it's like Jimmy Garoppolo, Dak Prescott, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, a 44-year-old Tom Brady. It's like, I think I'd rather roll with the 28-year-old who just, again, had his first full season, has less games than Baker Mayfield under his plate, and understand that he's in his 3rd year in Kyle Shanahan's offense. So you would think that he'd only get better playing in the same system. If they had, when you looked at the start of the season at the weapons they had on the roster, so of course we know how good George Kittle was, but they had to go out of their way to acquire Emmanuel Sanders, and he was huge, went down the stretch. And Deebo Samuel was in his rookie year and didn't really start playing better until week 8, week 9.
He's going to be good, by the way. Deebo, I think he went to South Carolina. He's going to be good. He's going to be good.
Absolutely. But I still think there's room for growth as far as the weapons around Jimmy Garoppolo. I think they could still add another piece. I mean, Dante Pettis was a letdown the previous year. We drafted second.
I drafted him in fantasy, high in fantasy too, man. That was a hurt. It hurt Pettis not playing good. I still think Pettis can still be good though. He just has to put it together. I think it's more him than the Niners. So if he can get it together, he can still be a good player.
See, Chris, you wouldn't have done that if you were listening to the Slumpbuster Fantasy Football Podcast.
Yes, now I know. I'm going to go to you guys for all my fantasy stuff now. I got to win another championship.
Anyway, back to Jimmy. It's like I look around the weapons on there. It's like they could still add one. Like if you told me this offseason they added a big piece, like maybe an AJ Green, or hell, not even an AJ Green, but just an Alshon Jeffrey to this roster, a big body wide receiver. I think that's like the next thing that Jimmy needs to take that next step. Is he ever going to be 2016 Matt Ryan? That's going to be the big question when you consider him in the Kyle Shanahan offense. But it's not going to be a free agent quarterback that I think replaces him if they do it. It's going to be someone through the draft.
Yeah, the draft.
And that person through the draft, again, they have to be. You have to tell me you're drafting the next Patrick Mahomes. You have to tell me you have Trevor Lawrence on tap. Otherwise, I think just roll with Jimmy and just let this contract play out. It's becoming more affordable by the day, too.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think went wrong in that fourth quarter?
What do I think went wrong? So, I mean, if you subtract Chris Jones playing out of his mind, there was definitely some questionable decision making. I just went on a Jimmy G defense. I mean, he's still got ways to learn. I do think that Kyle Shanahan maybe made some questionable play calling.
I think he did.
But I do think that when you listen to his post-game presser and what he said, hey, you're playing the Chiefs. Do you feel confident with 10-point lead? No, be aggressive, be aggressive.
Don't you think he would have learned from the Falcons thing? That's my thing.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm sure he had the same mindset going against the Patriots. Like, oh, we have to score more because Tom's on the other side. But I thought he would have learned, because if he would have ran the ball and against the Patriots, they're Super Bowl champions. Even if they're not gaining yards. Even if you just run the ball and just kill the clock, the clock is your friend, because that means more clock you run, less time for 12 to get on the field and make a comeback. So that was my whole thing, is like, hey, just go with the run. Just run it. You don't want Patrick to do, anything special, because he can. And that was what he's been questionable his last two Super Bowls with his play calling, especially with leads,
True, but in both those Super Bowls, he wasn't calling defense on either of those two teams.
No.
I mean, Robert Saleh, everyone was blowing him a couple weeks ago in the interview search. So we got to hold him a little bit accountable for some of the poor decisions that were made on defense.
Yeah, letting Richard Sherman go one-on-one with Sammy Watkins and he got exposed a little bit, Richard. I mean, Richard is what he is. He's a good cornerback, still a good corner, but if you can get him one-on-one, you take advantage of that. And the Chiefs did that for sure. I mean,
yeah. And Emmanuel Mosley on the other side, all you have to do is turn your head around and you might take that back for a pick six rather than that pass interference with Travis Kelce in the end zone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's those moments in those last 7 minutes. I stopped short. I joked about it facetiously, but of wanting to blame the refs for some call. I've seen some things circulating around Twitter that have made my inner fan just scream in agony, like Bosa getting howled, or specifically the OPI at the end of halftime, and it's just
the Kittle one you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
that shouldn't have been called.
Because it's a 3-point swing there. If that catch is just a catch, then they obviously go into halftime with a field goal. They get the ball back in the third quarter. Maybe a momentum shifter. So it's like you look at that and you're like, inside it's like, argh. But people get screwed all the time by the refs. We didn't have a Saints-Rams situation the previous year. I can't really.
Yeah, it was nothing egregious like that.
Yeah, so I just can't focus on it too much. I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't expect my Niners to be in the Super Bowl.
Say that, you guys, I mean, there's not a lot of people that have the San Francisco 49ers going to the Super Bowl. Yeah. So, the fact that you got here and when you guys won the division, right? Won your division, all the success, and that's something you should be. Obviously, you're devastated. You lost the Super Bowl, and it's tough, and but there's things to build on. There's things to look forward to. Like, okay, we have a good team. That's a good. I'm a Giants fan. I can't. My team's been putrid the last. It's been a rough year being a New York fan. Period. New York sports, other than the Yankees.
You got the Yankees, man.
Yes, at least I got the Yankee. That's why they keeps me afloat. But being a Giants fan, seeing how our team struggled and how we, I killed to be in your guys' shoes, even in a losing fashion in the Super Bowl. But you guys have a lot to build on. Jimmy G is going to get better. You guys have the defense is still intact. You guys could still get another run at it and get back. And I think Vegas has you guys as the favorites. So,
I mean, you listen to some of the players talk after the game, and they definitely had that mentality of this. We feel like we're going to get back. We feel like we're going to get back. Now, that's dangerous in sports because
yes.
More specifically, too, you look at the conference, the division we play in the NFC. The NFC's loaded. The Seahawks, the Rams, the Cardinals, all three of those teams could give you a loss on any given week.
Yeah.
So it's not a guarantee. I mean, they literally had to win the NFC West this year by an inch with that Dre Greenlaw tackle on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
So nothing's a given. But I do listen to like players like George Kittle. Again, love that guy. He's like, I'm going to be back here. I'm going to be
Yeah,
back.
I love George Kittle. I love George Kittle. He has a wrestling mentality. I love that
Mm-hmm.
he brings a lot of wrestling culture to his game and stuff, and just he's a tremendous player.
Yeah, that's the type of player I love. Like I mentioned, I love Jimmy Butler. I love George Kittle. That mentality that I don't care. I don't care if I have a broken ankle, just we'll tape it up and get me on the field. I don't know. Maybe I'm old school in that respect for a millennial, but
No,
I do.
I'm the same way. I love players to just go out there and just give it their all. I hope the Giants can get back to that formula that they had when in their previous championship years. In their good years. Have those dogs on the team. Have those George Kittle type players. Defensive guys that are gonna go out there and you ain't getting nothing on us. You have to earn every yard. Then and they were you got your Niners were hitting Mahomes. They were making Mahomes rattled, for a while, for a little bit, but he's a generational talent. So, it's hard to keep a guy like that bottled in for 4 quarters. So, you can't blame all on the 49ers. It's, he's a tremendous player too,
Mm-hmm.
He's an all world, but, the Niners are going to, they'll be good. You guys are in good shape. So,
Hey, you guys got Daniel Jones. That's a lot to look forward to, right?
hey, we got to, at least,
What are your thoughts? Because I have been heavily critical on it, and then I wasn't. Then I apologized to him when he had that fantastic debut against Tampa, and then it was like, okay, then he has 10+ fumbles. That's not a good statistic for any quarterback.
No, not at all. Okay, here's my whole Giants thing. It started with the whole drafting Saquon. I was not in favor of drafting Saquon. My thoughts is that we need a quarterback. Okay, quarterback. The quarterbacks are there. You take a quarterback. You're not going. This opportunity might not be there again to take a quarterback. So you take one. A running back is, it's an important position, obviously, but you could find running. Look at Nick Chubb was a 2nd-round pick. He was the AFC leading rusher.
Look at what the Niners did. Raheem Mostert, who was cut by 6 teams, was on our.
Look at the 2 teams representing, the NFC and AFC in the Super Bowl. Didn't have any running backs that were 1st-round picks. Damian Williams was a cast-off from the Miami Dolphins and almost won Super Bowl MVP. Raheem Mostert was a guy, like you said, cut by 16, and he had the most, he had one of the best games ever by a running back in an NFC championship game, You have Matt Breida, who was a solid back, Tevin Coleman
Undrafted.
Played in a Super Bowl,
I think the highest draft pick between the Chiefs and Niners was LaShawn McCoy in the 2nd round.
And he was inactive.
He was inactive, yeah.
So that was my thing. Was like, I get Saquon is supposed to be an all-world running back. He can do everything, and I love Saquon. Don't get me wrong, I love Saquon. I still would have went the quarterback route and then take a running. If you want the running back, which we did need, but not at 2, you could get a Chubb in the 2nd round, or Sony Michel, or there was a few guys that you could have taken. You can move back in the 1st round and get a guy if you could. They had the ammunition. So that was my whole thing. I would have liked Darnold or Josh Allen. So that was my thing. But their mindset was we're a playoff team, which was the wrong mindset because they clearly weren't a playoff team. And it showed because we had a miserable season again. So, and then the Daniel Jones thing was, obviously we needed a quarterback, and the quarterback class wasn't as good as the year before. So, taking him at 6, I thought was a little high.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they should have got him at one of the later picks. So they had 3 1st-round picks. So I thought they should have taken him at 17 and get a pass rusher. We needed a pass rusher. They could have took Josh Allen from who went to Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that should have he went to Kentucky. They should have taken him. We needed a pass rusher. But, and they went the opposite. They took Jones early, then they wound up taking a defensive tackle, Dexter Lawrence, who had a good year, but I thought that was another, you could find big boys like that in the later rounds, Chris Jones was wasn't a high pick, and he was one of the stars of the Super Bowl. So, the Giants, their moves lately have been suspect. I don't like the way they went, but Daniel Jones has shown the ability that that he can be a good quarterback. So that at least gives me some promise and some hope that we have our quarterback. Now we just have to fix the defense, and hopefully Saquon's healthy and try to build this team. But it's been bad the last 3 years for this team.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at it's funny because obviously the NFC East, there's usually so much turnover. I don't think there's been a repeat champ in several years, at least a couple decades almost, I think was the statistic.
Yeah. It's a lot of parity in that division. There's always a new division champion every year.
But you do look at those top two teams currently, and they do. I mean, say what you want about Dak, say what you want about Carson Wentz, but they at least have two solid young quarterbacks to build around, at least keep them going. So it's like the Giants, their decision to pick Daniel Jones, was he really the guy? They did need a quarterback, but they were in this weird limbo. You knew you were going to get rid of Pat Shurmur, or at least that narrative was out there. So now you have Daniel Jones on his second coach, and we know that's just a death spiral for a lot of young quarterbacks. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield. He's on his fourth head coach in 3 years.
Yeah, he's had 4 coaches already. That's miserable, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like you hope that doesn't happen. I mean, Joe Judge, that's another interesting decision. It's like I feel like they're just trying to be ahead of the curve on a lot of the guys, right? Because you feel like, okay, you reach for Saquon, you reach for Daniel Jones, you're reaching for Joe Judge. It's like you could get your guy, just get him at the right value.
Exactly. That's what my thing is, value. I didn't mind taking Daniel Jones. Not at 6, You
literally have 3 first-round draft picks, or at least you took 3 in this past draft's first round. I mean, there was that narrative maybe Washington takes him, but I feel like they could have waited.
Yeah, that's what I heard after they took him and stuff, that there was rumors that Washington wanted him. So maybe they just said, you know what, let's not let him go to a division rival and dominate us there. But I think that's what they thought. There had to be some reason like that they felt like another team was going to take him after 6. That has to be the only reason I can think of.
I would have just punted on quarterback honestly, and just like this year's draft class is at least more reasonable. Like if you told me the Giants took Justin Herbert or even Jordan Love, I would have thought
I love Justin Herbert.
Yeah, these are 2 solid guys that could at least do well. Or let's say, even punt a couple more years coming off Eli's retirement. It's a little bit of a weird area to be stuck in. But, I mean, Trevor Lawrence, next draft, it's like, Trevor Lawrence suiting up for the Giants, it does seem like an appropriate fit, one of the blue blood organizations in the league. Gain a star quarterback. I really hope Trevor Lawrence doesn't go to a cruddy team.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think that's the one thing that sucks with football, is that if you go to the wrong organization, it could really stunt your growth. Being around good coaching can look like it's like Patrick Mahomes. He's surrounded by great coaches, and look at him now. He's a champion.
Lamar Jackson is like, hey, Lamar was bitching and moaning like throughout this year, like, oh, I was the last quarterback in the draft room. It probably worked out better for you, honestly. Would you rather be in Arizona?
Yeah.
Where Josh Rosen got shipped out after a year? Would you have rather went to the Browns?
I feel so bad for Josh Rosen. I really do. I mean, that sucks. He's going to have to start over again, because Dolphins are probably going to take a quarterback. So he's probably going to get moved again. So he's going to be on another team, his third year on another team, probably fighting for, a starting spot. That's an unfortunate situation for him too.
Yeah, I mean, but good for us as we get to see Ryan Fitzpatrick play another year. I mean, I'm okay with that.
It's
I like a
magic.
little, I like a little Fitz magic. You know, it makes the league better. Talk
It-
about dogs, man. Like that guy will just go out there, eat like 50 pounds of cake, and
I'm,
just like play on Sunday.
he cost the Patriots a bye. He cost the Patriots a bye, man. It's always fun to see players like that come out of nowhere. It's you see it a lot in football, and I wish basketball you would get those. You don't get those stories as much because usually, if you're usually the best players are
Mhm.
lottery picks, top 5 picks, so you don't get that in basketball as much.
Yeah,
To
true.
see it in football, to see like undrafted guys, and that's why I've always loved Tom Brady because I love that story. Like 6th-round pick, he got passed up by the Patriots 5 times. You
Mhm.
know, by his own team. And just to see that story of him grow, and like Kurt Warner's story too. Kurt Warner's story is just as crazy. Kind of stocking groceries and stuff. Tony
Mhm.
Romo too. He's a Dallas Cowboy, but the story, how he got the job and stuff. Undrafted guy. It's always cool to see stories like that, and that's why I love football because we get to see half the league is undrafted guys or late picks, late round picks.
Yeah.
So I mean that's the beauty of football. That
When
doesn't matter where you get drafted; it's about you getting an opportunity.
when you look at the NBA, who would probably be like the biggest steal like all
I
time? I
mean,
mean, I'm looking
I
at
guess
Giannis right
Giannis.
now. Yeah, I'm looking at Giannis right now at 15. I'm thinking that has potential to be the greatest like steal, but it's still technically first round. It's
Yeah,
not.
but he wasn't. I don't think is he a lottery pick or he's like the first pick out of the lottery? I think he might be the first pick out of the lottery. But that
Well,
draft was weak.
yeah.
If you look at that draft, that was a bad draft. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm going to talk about with my guest on Thursday. Is that was such a bad draft, but how did all these guys miss on him?
I
How
mean,
did
you look at those rookie photos of him, he was like a twig. It's just like I mean,
But
you
how does
like to
that
think of
guy?
your
How does that skinny guy turn into the guy now who could possibly win back-to-back MVPs and win what 65, 70 games maybe and win a championship? I don't think
Mhm.
anyone saw that. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you just get the right strength coach, you get the right mentality in a
Right
player.
organization. That's another thing. We got.
Yeah, but would you have thought the Milwaukee Bucks would have been that right organization? Like they
I mean,
hadn't really done much in
they
the
they they
last.
weren't they weren't obviously what they are now, but they were always like a respectable organization. They weren't a disaster like my Knicks have been, or some other franchise, Minnesota. Organizations that just know how to just keep messing things up because they've had success before. Milwaukee's in the past. They got to a conference championship before, so they just had some some rough years, but they just found their guy. They found the guy, the 15th pick. They didn't have to use. It's like the Warriors. I mean, they Steph Curry was another just heartbreaking that he was a pick before the New York Knicks, and then he wanted to be a New York Knick. But let me know. I don't want to cry on the air, but to Klay Thompson getting him like Draymond Green. Draymond Green the second round. They built their dynasty without even having a top 5 pick. You know,
Mhm.
and, Giannis being, it's, that's just it's crazy how Giannis has become, just a superstar, and he wasn't even he didn't even play a high level of basketball. I think he said he played in the second league. It wasn't even the top league in Greece. It was the second league. I guess it would be the equivalent of the G League. Uh, in the states here, so it's just crazy how he's developed.
I think if I'm not mistaken, too, the Celtics like picked someone right before him. I can't remember what year's draft that was. Who they
That
took.
was 13. That was the Anthony Bennett draft.
Oh yeah, that God, that was such a. You're right. Like when you just think about Anthony Bennett as just a whole, that's.
I think he's the worst number 1 pick of all time.
I agree. I mean,
I don't think it's close. See, maybe I gotta look at maybe the old school guys, but from my generation, I mean, at least Kwame Brown
Mhm.
played 10 years. Michael LeCandy played 10 years. You
Greg
know,
Oden, though, I mean,
Greg
that
Oden, I don't, I will never consider him a bust because injuries. Because when he played, he showed that he showed flashes of being great. He only played a whole 1 year of a career. You know, he played 82 games in his career, I think. You know, so he only played 1 year worth of games in his whole career. It's unfortunate, but you know, Anthony Bennett just from the jump, he couldn't play basketball. He was not good at basketball. That's just that's sad.
I mean, hey, it looks like at least my Celtics got Kelly Olynyk in that draft. Yay.
There we go. Kelly. There we go.
I'm
Well,
pretty sure Giannis has at least one dunk on Kelly Olynyk in his time, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
So.
Kelly Olynyk has a very "I want to dunk on you" type of face. Like I want to
Yeah,
dunk on
kind of
you.
like Aaron Baines too. Aaron Baines has always got like,
Celtic great.
yeah, he just has like that. Let's see, because Embiid has one on him, Giannis has one on him.
Yeah.
I even think like there's a small guy that got a really good dunk on him. I'm not sure who it was. I mean, hell, we saw Westbrook the other night, like
He's
giving
playing out of
Gobert a tough time, but
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It hurts whenever you miss on these guys. When you look back at the draft order, it's like, 2 picks later. But yeah, right now, if Giannis's career continued at this pace, he would be probably the biggest steal in NBA history. Just given like you said, you don't see too many players drop out of that top 10. These guys have been scouted for years by the time they hit.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen good players undrafted and second round picks be good, but you know, guys, you don't see guys outside of the top 5. You know, Giannis. There's not a lot of Giannis's that get past, you know, the fifth, you know, top 5. You know, that doesn't happen, and then it's crazy that that he's a tremendous player. But you know, I want to cap it off the show with this about your Celtics and your Mount Rushmore of Boston Celtics.
Okay, and I'll admit, like, coming into it being, like I said, I'm not only being a millennial, so not getting a chance to see a lot of the great Celtics really play in my time, just having to live off of stories, and then coming into it, like, very late into my adolescence. But I can appreciate history, so I have, like, thought about this a little bit. I mean, at the start, you have to, of course, put Bill Russell. You're always going to look at just that photo of him with all his rings on his hands.
Bling, bling.
Yeah, I mean, if greatest of all time was just determined by rings, Bill Russell would just run away with it, just given that category on him. But so clearly, you look at Bill Russell, Larry Bird, obviously. I mean, him and Magic, what they did for the league, taking it into its next phase, pre-Jordan, even giving Jordan in his heyday like a hard time. Those McDonald's commercials. Larry Bird's been just a solid ambassador for the Celtics organization and the NBA for decades. And then, I mean, if you want to include like coaches in it, I think obviously Red Auerbach too, who had the majority of the success with the early day Celtics.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, him chain smoking that cigar.
Arguably full time.
Yeah, him chain smoking those cigars, like that old school coach. I mean, that's what the kind of old school mentality I appreciate. I'll occasionally get a victory cigar in too, just in honor of Red. And then it's just like I'm trying to think about it because there is kind of like that part of me that wants to put at least a player that I've got to see in my time, who was at least part of a championship team, and that was Paul Pierce.
Yeah,
he was a career. Well, I was going to say a career Celtic, but I mean pretty much a career Celtic up until those last couple.
Yeah, we don't have to count those other teams he was on.
Yeah, I mean, he was still helping the Celtics win by getting traded to Brooklyn.
Oh man, one of the biggest heist of all time.
Exactly. I don't even know who cleared that trade, but oh my God.
Let's just say a lot of guys from the Brooklyn got fired, but fired over that.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll appreciate Paul. I don't know if he's better or worse than Dwayne Wade, but he's at least a Celtics great.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that whole thing. But you know what? I remember when that whole thing happened and people were getting on Paul. I was like, what did you expect him to say? Oh, no, Dwayne Wade's better than me. He's confident in his game. Paul Pierce was a great player. He was a great coach. He was a clutch player. Obviously, we know Dwayne Wade's probably better than him, you know. But I wasn't mad that he said that, and I listen, I hate Paul Pierce. Being a Knicks fan, and how many times he's killed us, and just him being a part of that team, hated Paul Pierce. But you can't deny that he was a great player. He was a tremendous player and a big time clutch player too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always appreciate, because I don't know if I'd still be an NBA fan quite at the level I am today had I not got to see the Celtics experience success early, and he was a big part of that. So I guess on my own personal, I mean, I know the old guard will mention a name like a Bob Cousy or someone in there, but I got to put at least a modern benefit on there. And I'm looking at this current construction. The thing that kind of hurts about the NBA now too is you can't get too attached to players.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think
player
who's
movement, man. Yeah.
Yeah, who's the next Mount Rushmore player? Is could it be Jason Tatum? Is he going to be there for the next 20 years? I don't really know.
I root for Jason. Being a Duke Blue Devil fan, I root for Jason. I love Jason Tatum. I was so happy he made the All-Star team.
Yeah, I mean, guess we'll see. But I mean, those are the players I'm rolling with. I appreciate the Celtics. I mean,
that's a good four.
I mean, it's funny. Whenever I think of Paul Pierce, though, and I think about the narratives, I'm better than Wade. I always think to some of the ridiculous comments. I'll even admit ridiculous comments that team has made, in the last couple of years, like Kevin Garnett. We made LeBron quit. It's okay. Didn't he just put up 40 on you?
Yeah. He put up some monster games against the Celtics.
Yeah. So I feel don't stop, because you're what drives his motivation every time he plays us to just kill us.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, Ben, but yeah, no, I mean that's how I'm feeling it. That's how I'm feeling it. Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna end it on there, man. Julian, thank you for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, of course. Let's see. So, I mean, yeah, it was an honor, Chris. I mean, I am open to doing more of these with you. I'm hoping maybe you could come on one of our shows here too in the future.
That's for sure.
Definitely, if you're looking for places, check us out. We're on pretty much every major streaming platform. We're working on iHeartRadio. That's still in the works. But hey, if you like memes, at Slumpbuster Podcast, I know you have enjoyed plenty of our meme content over the last couple of days.
I love a good meme. Love a good meme.
Memes are what bind us. So we strive to be a good podcast, a good meme page. So at Slumpbuster Podcast, find us there. Yeah, Chris. I mean, guess we'll see. I mean, hopefully things turn around for you up there with the Knicks, and
I wouldn't get I won't get my hopes up, but
just don't buy it. Just don't buy any fake Knicks jerseys, man. That guy who's making a killing these days off of those.
Yeah, I know. No, I can't invest in a Knicks jersey until we get someone special.
All right, man. Well, that does it for me. Peace. Have a good one, man.
Thank you, Julie, for being on the show. Take care, guys. Peace.